The Sony A7R III, one of the most popular cameras out there among consumers and professionals alike. But of course, it's 2020. This camera is a couple years old, and it is now a predecessor to the Sony A7R IV. So, is this camera worth it in 2020 still? That's what I'm going to discuss today. Hello, I'm Noah from Anything Cameras, the channel that focuses on helping you improve your filming and photography. Yes, you, Richard. If you are a subscriber of the channel, please subscribe, then you might have seen my video about switching to a full-frame sensor format and the upsides and downsides of that. See that in the cards above. And if you paid attention to that video, you would know that the camera I switched to was the Sony A7R III. Now, obviously, I think it is worth it to buy in 2020 because I bought it, but let's discuss why that is. Let's talk about why this camera was worth it to buy back when it was released, and then let's talk about why it's still worth buying despite the A7R IV. So this camera was released in October of 2017 at a price of almost $3,200 US. And this camera brought some pretty exciting features to the table. Remember, back in October of 2017, so long ago, not all of these companies had switched to full-frame mirrorless, such as Canon or Nikon. But this camera was the third generation of Sony's A7R series, which was all full-frame mirrorless. So they had had time to develop their technology and refine this line of camera. So not only did they have a good high megapixel count with really good dynamic range and ISO performance, but they also brought excellent autofocus, great battery life, a higher quality EVF, and improved build quality to their previous cameras, and to lots of competitors' cameras. And this was a relatively low price of only $3,200. One of this camera's main competitors when it was released was the Canon 5D Mark IV. Now this was out for almost a year already. It was released in August of 2016, and at a price of $3,500, $300 more expensive. Not to mention, it was a DSLR, so it didn't offer eye detection and autofocus, it didn't offer a nice EVF so you can see your exposure, it didn't offer high frame rate shooting. And this camera, although Sony did dumb down the specs a little bit, offered better video than what Canon offered, at least in that camera. So naturally, a lot of people started switching to Sony. Of course, I didn't mention Nikon's competitor, such as the D850, or other competitors that had been released, but you can see the appeal. So fast forward almost 3 years, closer to 2.5, and the Sony A7R IV has come out, and this camera has dropped from its original price of $3,200 to a price of $2,800. It's only a $400 price difference, but if you buy it used like I did, then you can get it for as low or even lower than about $2,400. In my opinion, that's a great deal. This is still a great camera, it is still a professional camera, and it still offers that same great autofocus, great dynamic range, ISO performance, EVF, battery life, everything that I mentioned previously. Even if some of these things were improved upon, even just marginally in some cases, in the A7R IV, that camera's price is much, much higher at $3,500. Now, depending on if you buy it used or not, and of course if you buy the A7R IV used, then you'll get a price drop of a couple $100, maybe $600. That price gap is going to be different. And as I said, that camera has improved upon several things. It has a better autofocus system, it has more megapixels, and its low light and dynamic range performance are a little bit better, but not very much so, than the A7R III because of that high megapixel count. So already there's an argument to be had for buying this over that competitor. But what other competitors are out there now? Well, one of them is the EOS R, which has a lower price and fewer megapixels, but it does have pretty decent autofocus, maybe not as good in photo, but better in video. In a lot of ways, the Canon EOS R's video is better, and I can't say personally, but I imagine that its low light performance and dynamic range are very, very close to this camera. But I didn't go with that camera, even though I already had Canon lenses, because it's just Canon's first generation of mirrorless cameras. They haven't had time to evolve them the same way Sony has. And it has fewer megapixels. I was looking for something with a bit higher resolution. Nikon Z7 is a high megapixel count like this camera, and it is around the same price point. However, again, it's their first generation. Their lens options aren't as good, same with Canons, though they're definitely superior to Nikon's. And though I heavily considered it, especially over the EOS R, I just felt that this camera was the right one for me. So, for me at least, yes, the A7R III was definitely worth it in 2020. I'm very happy with my purchase. This is an awesome camera, but for you, there might be other options that suit your needs better. And gotta stretch out before I act. You know, get them bloopers in. Yes, you, Richard. You're the one who I am trying to instruct in photography and filming. Anyway, let's get to it. We should just do that every time. Say a random name. Jess. Chuck.
And somebody's gonna...
Yeah. Okay.
13-bit megabit per second, gigabit connection. 100 gigabit.
Why are you holding my... Why are you holding... Wait, what was his name? I don't remember now. Why are you holding him? So it didn't